Hey, it's Steve Vetrano. I'm glad you're back here to keep hearing some more of the truth. And let me continue to present you with some more facts so you know what's going on, what's really out there, because that's my goal. If you haven't seen videos before, that's my whole goal, is to get you real information, regardless of what party you're affiliated with or who you support. So I'm just going to get into it, give you facts, and you decide if you're with it or against it. It's plans from Governor Abbott in Texas to redraw the districts, congressional districts in Texas. The reason he wants to do this, the congressional election 2026, so November 2026, a little over a year, 15 months from now, it's going to be a tight election for Republicans to keep control of the Congress. If you don't know, historically over the last 30 years, nearly every single time midterm election, after 2 years of president, nearly every single one has switched parties. If the president came in, it happened to Obama, happened to Clinton, happened to George Bush. President came in with the majority in the Congress, get to do what they want. Then halfway through, they lose it, and it slows them down. Same thing happened with Donald Trump before. So this is a big deal. So what they're doing is called gerrymandering. And that term, I just looked it up out of pure interest, came from Massachusetts. There was a Senator Gerry. He actually pronounced it Gerry, as if it was G-A-R-Y, but it's spelled G-E-R-R-Y. Senator Gerry took a new seat in Massachusetts. They had to draw a district. We'll get more into how that works in a minute. But they drew a funny map. The districts are not squares or rectangles or anything you'd expect. They look like little Tetris pieces all stuck together in some strange way. So he drew a district so that he could be elected. And he worked. It worked. He got elected, and he was a U.S. Senator. He actually, this goes all the way back to late 1700s. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. He's one of those names you see on there and don't know who it is. So that's how he became famous in history, and they copied his technique, called it gerrymandering. This is perfectly legal. This is actually required to be done every 10 years. I'm going to explain to you why. So districts get redrawn because every 10 years we have a U.S. census. So the census is required by Congress under law to occur every 10 years. And it has occurred every 10 years since 1790. It's never missed it. Even during war, depression, whatever's going on, the United States has done its census. When the census is done and it's completed, then based on each state's population, they gain or lose some seats in the Congress. There's 435 seats, never more, never less. And depending on states' populations, and as they shift, state could gain or lose seats. Then you have to redraw the district. So that's how that normally goes. It's every 10 years to do a census, then you redraw districts because your state added or lost some seats. That's normal, that's okay. So what's happening now that's making this big news in Texas is because this isn't the year 2020 or 2030. There is no census being conducted. The state is not required to adjust its districts. It is not getting extra seats. It's not losing a seat. The Texas governor simply wants to, and the Texas Republican Party, figured out that if they rearrange certain districts, they could add 4 or 5 more Republican Congress people to the next Congress in 2026. You have to remember that right now, whoever has 218 seats is in charge of Congress, and Republicans have just over 220, so they can't afford to lose 3 votes and not get a bill passed or a law passed. That's how serious this is. So in Texas, they think they could add 3 or 4 or maybe 5 by doing this redistricting. It's not supposed to be done. It isn't normally done this way outside of the census period. Can it be done? Can it be legal? Yes. The Supreme Court has previously ruled on cases challenging where the maps were drawn. They were a little bit unfair, and they wanted them to be redone. But typically, the Supreme Court has said this is up to the state. This is up to their governors how they do it. Go a little deeper. We are a republic of states. Each state is related and works together, but we don't always follow the same rules, even for an election. And the Supreme Court says that's up to the state how they serve their state's people, which there's good merit to that. That's good. You don't want everything coming from Washington. but that lets a governor go do something he maybe shouldn't be doing. There's a case pending for the Supreme Court right now from Louisiana that's been there for a few years, going through the system. Because of redrawing the districts in Louisiana, there are lower income minority groups that are cut out. They don't have their voting block anymore. Again, adding more Republicans. There's a right way and wrong way, I think, to do that. I understand why they want to do it, but we got to talk more about how and why they're doing this. So let me tell you right now why this matters to you. You're not in Texas, you're not in Louisiana, you're not really worried about it. No, what you are is subject to the rules and laws and the budgets and policies passed by Congress. Recently, we had the big, beautiful bill that barely made it through Congress, with Trump twisting arms, getting people to do stuff. And I don't mean to call him Trump. President Trump, he is a president. He's using his political power to get this through, to fund his agenda and all things that are important to him. He will have more power to do those things if more Republicans are elected. If more seats, say those 4 seats are picked up in Texas next year, then there's a much bigger advantage for Republicans in Congress, and they can have fewer people sign on. They can have more disagreement, not have to buy them into their vote, and get more stuff done. It simply gives President and Congress, the sitting Congress, more power. That's why they want to do it. But it affects you, because every law they pass there, even if it's 3 new men or women from Texas, it's affecting you and your life and where you live. So you can't hide from it. Let me give you a couple examples real quick. North Carolina was just 52% Republican vote in the last presidential election with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. So they got 52% of the voters voted Republican that day, but 70% of their congressional districts were decided as Republican because of where the voters live and how they drew their districts. So they had 14 out of 17 seats in the state that went to Republicans, even though they only had 52% of the vote. That's how you see this, you don't want to say fraudulent, this kind of strange reaction. If the voters are much more split, why does one party win? This is why, because of gerrymandering, redrawn districts. Illinois, the Democrat side, did the same thing. Kamala Harris got 54% of the vote in the last election. Somehow, 82% of the congressional districts were re-elected to Democrats. You get 54%. So it goes both ways. It's not one party or the other. Like I said, I'm just giving you facts, not for one side or another. What I don't want to infer is that the state parties, the Democrat or Republican parties and their governors get to arbitrarily do what you want. There are challenges. There are restrictions on the redistricting or the gerrymandering, and those are codified in laws. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 specifically says that minority voters must be represented, and you cannot write them out of representation, which it kind of seems like is still happening. Those are the cases that get challenged under those reasons to go to the Supreme Court. There's also the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause that says that states have to protect their citizens equally. Part of that protection is inferred into their voice being heard and their votes being counted. And again, if you draw the lines so that the people that they want to elect can't be elected, that's what's challengeable. So there are rules about this. So let's get back to Texas because it's a hot topic right now. President Trump suggested to Governor Abbott, governor of Texas, that he redraw the districts so we can improve the chance of having Republican voters or additional Republican delegates elected. So the White House asked Texas Governor Abbott several weeks ago to redraw his districts so there was more likelihood of more Republican winners coming out of the state and going to Congress. So the governor, within his powers, called a special session 2 weeks ago for all the state legislators. They're the ones that have to do this redrawing, for them to come and meet and come up with a plan. But the Republicans outnumber the Democrats. So Democrats said, we can't be there and be part of this because it's not going to go our way. But if we're there and we're part of it, then it becomes law because they need enough Democrats to be there for a quorum to have the session. So what did Democrats do? They literally left. They flew out of state. Some went to New York Some went to the Midwest. Some went home to visit family. A few that couldn't leave stayed home because they were ill or had family issues. But the bottom line is there's not enough people present because there weren't enough Republicans on its own to have a quorum. So they can't have this vote. They can't do this work. I'm sure they're sketching in the background, but they can't do their committee, process the new districts, pass legislation, and change it. So how does that end? I don't know. The governor of Texas has threatened to arrest them for not doing their jobs. He's threatened to fine them $500 a day. He's said that they took political favors in getting free flights and hotel stays or meals, whatever, to wherever they're hiding in New York. And so he wants to charge them. He started a few days ago looking to replace the House Minority Leader in their assembly because he's not bringing his people back. But it's all new. This is uncharted territory. I don't know who's going to win what. It's all become a legal fight. It's going to be a big legal fight for a while till special session's going to run out. I don't know how it ends, but it's all in the hands of legal people. It's irritating to me when these things are no longer about right and wrong, but it's what can I do or claim to do, legally do to get my way, not do the right thing. And I think that's part of what we've lost here. Last comment on this is this isn't just a Texas thing. New York and California stated 2 weeks ago they're going to do some redistricting so that they can elect more Democrat voters or Democrat representatives to Congress. It's not as easy for them. In California, they have a nonpartisan committee. I don't know where they come from. The committee's always there. A nonpartisan committee that would have to draw those. They're not the elected officials to draw the map. So people that would theoretically use facts and statistics and demographics and the census information we were talking about to say this is how the districts need to be redrawn. So they can do that, and that kills the whole political goal. In New York, on the other hand, they have to have a special election to remove an amendment to their state constitution that prohibits this from happening. So that law has been in place. No one's ever done it. But now because Texas is trying to violate the purpose of the law, New York is looking at doing the same thing, but it's much harder. It'll take them at least a few years to be able to do so. And then the problem's already changed anyway. So that's where we're at with this. Also reading last week, Florida's considering redistricting. Ohio's considering it. Even Missouri. I don't know. It's not normally a political battleground, but these other states are looking at doing. So one person's actions to try to save one group's political power is now turned into a 6 or 7 way state fight with their own laws, their rules, their constitutions, their parties and stuff. This is what bugs me. That's not good for America. You don't throw out your state constitution or amend it because of a 2026 election. And you don't fire the Democrats or try to get them arrested because they don't agree with you on a political thing. Same time, if you're elected to represent your state in your state house, you've got to be adult enough to show up and have those arguments and fights. You can't just skip it because, well, it's not going to go my way. Well, good, you're being just as bad. So this is, again, I say I'm very moderate. Both sides are doing it wrong. Both sides are trying to cheat. One side's a little better at it, in a better position for the cheating right now. But this is what they do, and that's not what we deserve. Hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Leave your comments and your likes for me. Is that good?